there, Ramble Force. Chris Gamble here again with another episode of the Digital Ramble. I'm joined, as always, in Houston, Texas by JJ Cannon. Hey, JJ.
Chris Gamble, how are you, my friend? Goodness gracious. Just last week just was like a rocket, man. It was wonderful.
Who would have known that insurance was so much fun? What a laugh we had with Hamish and Christian.
I know. And how exciting insurance is and is going to be.
Yeah, even in the week since we recorded, I've seen more news come out of their from their website, from their LinkedIn posts, and there's some smart home products have dropped now on their roadmap.
Yeah. You know, in Gamble this week we have another big banger, and it's Jean Lenois with Google Pro, who's coming in to visit with us and talk about everything Google Pro there is. So excited to have him on.
Yeah, Gene is he's an OG from back in the Nest days. You know, he's been with Nest way back 2013. Was there when they had the acquisition from Google, which we're going to talk to him about, which is awesome. And he's still there now, but with Google Nest, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gamble, you know, something that I want to do is give some shout outs. You know, we're looking at all of our analytics, all of our metrics, our subscriptions are just taking off. The people that are liking our content it's just so heartwarming. You know, we got people over in Australia, in Canada, in Qatar, Belgium, New Zealand.
Yeah, you know, it's great to see an audience coming in from not just where we are, the UK and the US, where JJ is. It's awesome to see this audience growing, and it genuinely is growing in these regions where I think it's Dominican Republic, JJ. They're like 2% of our audience or something.
I know, it's crazy. That's half the island. It's amazing, Gamble, and man, I'm just so stoked. Whenever we started this about almost 2 years ago, we're gonna have to have like a 2-year celebration coming up here pretty soon, Gamble.
We'll have to have some kind of party. Probably just invite everyone on a Zoom call, but we'd love to do something in person. And I'm sure when we're out of these lockdown restrictions that we're all in globally, then who knows, maybe at an upcoming show, there will be a Digital Ramble party. But we also featured in a blog recently, residential systems blogger Todd Anthony Puma, a New York-based integrator, featured us as one of his picks as a podcast to listen to if you're in our industry. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I was completely sidestruck by that one, and super excited to be mentioned in anybody's blog. And so thank you so much for taking a listen and opining, Todd, about learning some stuff about the solutions that Gamble and I are providing homeowners on a daily basis. I know it's quite different than what's normal in our industry, but man, thanks for highlighting us.
Now, as always, the best place to catch up with all the episodes that we've done over the nearly 2 years is at our website, digitalrambleshow.com. You can see the videos, you can get the audio. We've been podcasting for 2 years. We're episode 81 now, and that is the best place to get all the content. But we're on other platforms as well, JJ. Where else can people find us?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. You can check us out on YouTube. We're on 11 podcast streaming services. I think Apple iTunes is probably the most popular one, followed closely behind by Spotify.
Yeah, I'm waiting for us to get that offer like they gave to Joe Rogan. Maybe we'll get exclusive.
We're right there. Their fingers are like waiting to hit up the Digital Ramble, I'm sure.
Maybe after this episode. So let's get into episode 81, our interview with Jean Lenois from Google Nest. This is a big episode. I'm expecting big numbers on this one, JJ. Let's press that button.
Digital Ramblers, welcome back to the Digital Ramble Show. So excited today on the show. We have Jean Lenois joining us. And Jean, for our viewers, we have a lot of Google Nest customers. We also have a lot of Nest Pro installers that watch this show. And we're so excited to have you on today's show. Could you please introduce yourself and let everybody know how you facilitate over there at Google Nest for us?
Sure, appreciate it, and love being on with you guys, and a chance to talk to people that are chasing tech and all the Google Nest pros out there. So thanks for having me on. My role at Google Nest is everything that's related to the pro channel. So in my world, it has everything to do with all of the trades that do installations for consumers and businesses. We go across a number of trades within my business. We started off with the thermostat, so HVAC is obviously a big trade for us. The custom integration or the CDIA channel, near and dear to your hearts, right? That is also a major trade. And then we play roles within electrical, security, solar, connectivity. Any one of these trades is the business that I deal with. And I've been with Google Nest since August 2013, and it's been a wild ride, starting off as just a thermostat company and now being part of a pretty broad portfolio.
From looking at your LinkedIn profile, Gene, is your background in HVAC? Is that what sector you came from before?
Yeah, if you go way back, I'm originally an HVAC contractor. So about into my 1997, I started to realize that though I love the trade, I didn't want to run my own trade business, and there was a ton of consolidation going on, and so I took advantage of it. I was young. I was 26 years old and got a chance to sell my business and did that. And then I went to work for a controls manufacturer, and then we sold to Honeywell. I worked for Honeywell for a number of years in a number of different roles. And my kids were being born, and I wanted to figure out a way to be home. And so I got into the wholesale distribution business. And that wholesale distribution business is what led me to the Nest world. We were the first customer of Google Nest, or Nest at the time.
Yeah.
And so, back in November of 2011, when Nest launched, it launched with 3 Best Buy stores, a Nest.com, and within the company that I was VP of Sales and Marketing with, called Watsco, and Watsco has a number of subsidiary companies. So I helped arrange all of our subsidiaries to cut the first POs, and it was really a mind-blowing thing, because we had done lots of thermostat launches, but we had never seen anything where when you launch a thermostat that it's all over the news the next day. And that's when we knew that this was something different, and that we had stumbled into something that was a game changer.
Yeah, because almost to the month, we're recording in May. This will go out in June, but it's 10-year anniversary of Nest, the foundings of it, the originators of it, and obviously it's got a story that we'll get into later. But what was the origins? Who was the early founders of Nest way back in 2010? It sounds a long time ago, but it's not really in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, so Tony Fadell, who he's often portrayed as the godfather of the iPod. Tony was the founder, along with his co-founder, Matt Rogers. And basically, Tony came from Apple, worked for Steve Jobs. He was personally responsible for the first bringing out the first 3 iPhones, the first 18 iPods. And he got into the home automation business, but it was Matt Rogers, his co-founder, who worked with Tony, that really kind of sparked the idea around this. And Matt Rogers has a great venture capital company, Insight, and he's really focused on environmental stuff, and that's where this really came from. The environmental energy saving side, they started to look at home automation and see that thermostat was really ripe for opportunity. And so those guys started it. I didn't meet them until 2013 when the opportunity came around. But it was great working for them too. Just having an opportunity to see how that, going from a legacy trade world into a Silicon Valley tech world, was just an amazing difference. The speed at which things get done, and how they view technology was completely different. So there was a lot of adoption that had to be done to try to fit into that whole rapid pace.
Yeah, and with that design and styling, you can really see some of the history or the background or the influences that, maybe those early iPods and, those type of developments that kind of went into, or at least to me, it looks like went into the Nest thermostat, and carries a lot of that heritage or genealogy that came from that.
Yeah, there's some DNA that when you looked at it, you could tell that there was some close ties to some of the, Apple heritage, as you say. And pretty interesting story. I was sitting at a table in Deerfield Beach, Florida, where I was, getting a chance to see the thermostat for the first time. And I walk into the conference room, and it was literally a purple sheet over this thing, and I couldn't see the thing. And in the meeting, they did an unveiling. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, that's pretty sharp. And then we got a chance to get into the product. And it was pretty interesting because after holding it and seeing it and operating it, I said to them, they said, what do you think? And I said, I think you're going to kill it. I think this thing's just going to do great. It was just such a nice piece of hardware, everything being so precise. And even though it was electronic, the tactile feel that it had to it, it was a little simpler in the Gen 1. We're on Gen 3 now, but even in the Gen 1, which I still have a Gen 1, up and running, just fine. It was still a game-changing scenario, and it was really hard to get when it first came out. And I remember we placed orders and we got some product in, but I remember being offered over $700, $800 for one of those thermostats. And it was just, when you come from the heating and cooling world, you just couldn't get your head wrapped around that anybody was willing to pay that much money for a thermostat. So it obviously didn't stay there as availability got around, but for a while it was pretty amazing just to see the demand. So it was a cool thing.
Talking about the willing to pay, I mean, you joined Nest before the acquisition that happened in 2014. And Google came along and saw, really how impactful this Nest thermostat could be, and was being embraced. And Google threw down $3.2 billion for this. And it remains to this day one of the biggest headline moments in home tech. And what are some of the immediate changes in the business that Google kind of brought to the table? I mean,
yeah,
is that a pretty broad question? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, when you repeat that back to me, there's so many things that go through my mind. And just to give you a quick piece of history, I was in with a utility company in Houston, Texas, with a coworker, with my phone blowing up, just phone call after phone call from an employee. And finally we had a break in our meeting, and so I answered the phone and I said, hey, I'm in a customer meeting, I gotta call you back. And he's like, well, you need to attend this meeting later today. And I said, well, why? And he's like, well, Google just bought us for $3.2 billion. And I was like, okay, I got to call you back. And so then this guy, coworker, Andy Baines, who was running our utility business at the time, he comes out of the men's room, and we're about to walk back into the conference room. And I said, Andy, Google just bought us for $3.2 billion. And you could see him all of a sudden, what does that mean? You know, I had only been there, this was January of 2014. I had only been there since August. He had been there sooner. But to be honest, we didn't know if that was a great thing, a okay thing. What does it mean for you personally? That's everything that starts to go through your mind. And it obviously turned out to be an amazing piece, but it was a day where the ride back to the Houston airport was just him and I sitting in a taxi trying to contemplate what that would mean. And we got on a conference call and heard great things. And then later in the day, it was friends and family and everybody calling to say, you know, they think it's a good thing for you, and you know, questioning, is that great for you? Is that good? And so it was a pretty memorable day. But when you think about the changes, we were a small startup in basically two, probably maybe 5,000 square foot buildings. And all of a sudden, everything changed. All new computers, all new email. Suddenly lunches were free. Breakfast was getting served. And there was this announcement that we were going to hire 600 engineers. And so, yeah, and that also included the expansion of sales teams. So I went into a rapid hiring mode. The company went into a rapid hiring mode. We had to move into a huge building, and there was a building up the street from when Barnes and Noble they were building the Nook. That was their old building, so we went into the old Nook building, and so it was just this. I've never seen it or experienced anything like it, where you used to walk in the office and you almost knew everyone on a first name basis, and suddenly it was just, you didn't know who half these people were, you didn't know the products they were working on, but there was just all kinds of stuff, and people had new jobs and new teams, and so it was just this really, really rapid pace, and there was good things that came with it, and there was really challenging things that came with it, but that was the most impactful change, I think. Was virtually overnight, there was this availability of resources that was really hard to comprehend. And even though that sounds great, figuring out how to implement that without disrupting the business was incredibly challenging. And so, you know, we went through some bumps for sure, just from a standpoint of trying to figure out how to maneuver. But it was big, really, really big.
That's a cool story. Taking it back to product. Now, I've always shouted that there should be a smart home hall of fame. I think we're more than a decade into the smart home story. I really believe there should be one. And if there was, I believe one of the first inductees would be the Nest Learning Thermostat, whether it was Gen 1, 2, or 3. It is an icon of smart home and will be for decades and decades to come. Tell us about what's so special about the Nest Learning Thermostat, specifically Gen 3. Tell us what puts that right at the top of the food chain with smart thermostats.
I mean, I think there's a few pieces of it, but a quick comment on your Hall of Fame. I think you're right. I think there will eventually be something. The interesting piece about smart home is still pretty young, right? It only has one direction to go. So I agree with you. You look at any news story about smart thermostat, and you'll see a picture of a Nest utilized in that article. And if I ride on a plane and somebody asks me, what do you do? And I say I work for Nest. This is a podcast, so there's video. People will say, oh, Nest, and they rotate their hands, right? So they understand what that is. I have one in my office as I'm talking to you, and I think it was the fact that it was just so clean, right? That stainless steel ring with that dark circle that would light up for you and enable you to function it or make it function without having to touch the screen was something that I think just kind of set the new standard. And if you think about like what's the most iconic piece, coming from a world where you took something out of the box and it was brand new and it operated really good. I mean, that's great. That's, as a product person, that's what you want. But to have a product that you take out of the box, you put in, and the longer it's on your wall, the better it gets. Yeah. To me, that's what makes it really cool. The thermostat learns your house. It learns how it reacts to the weather. It knows what temperatures you like when. It knows when you're there and when you're not. And it takes all that information and is just constantly modifying itself to hone in on your lifestyle. If you change your whole house, you put new insulation, you put new windows, you put a new heating and cooling system, well, all of that's going to perform better, and literally the Nest will see that. It will learn that where it used to take 15 minutes to heat the house, now it's only taking 11, at a certain temperature outside. So I think when you think about like, what's the differentiator, what's the thing that really sets it apart? I think it looks really cool. There was a story when I first came on board where somebody in the Middle East, obviously very wealthy, they had 92 Nest thermostats in their palace. So, and they made sure that you could see them, right? They weren't hidden behind a wall. I'm used to the HVAC industry where people wanted invisible sensors because they didn't want to see the thermostat. This thing became a focal point. People wanted to see that. They wanted that thermostat to be visible on the wall. So you could take something that looks that cool, put it with something that just keeps on getting better. It's better on day 100, 300, 600 that it sits in your home. I think that's the thing that really sets it apart.
Man, I thought I was doing quite well. I did a project with 18.
I know.
It was a project with lots of underfloor heating, which uses up a lot of thermostats. So
that's still impressive. That's still impressive.
92. Oh my goodness. And of course a palace, not your regular home. I'm going to shift gears. Go ahead.
I was going to say, not your everyday home.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Gene, I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. Probably the most underrated smart home product, but one of the few that could actually save your life is the Nest Protect. And this has been another cornerstone of home tech upgrades for homes. Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the key features about the Nest Protect?
Yeah, it is amazing. There's a couple cool things for your listeners out there. When you look at star ratings, customer satisfaction ratings, Nest Protect actually has the highest rating of any product that we have. And interestingly enough, it is the one that you probably interact with the least. So this thing just sits in the background and enables you to just know that you're safe. The key features of it, the number one thing that customers love is the fact that it's got a night light. So I realize that doesn't sound too impressive for a smoke and CO alarm in your home, but it is such a customer delight. And my wife is living proof where at night you get up, you have to check on the kids. It gently lights up the room as you're walking underneath it. So it's got occupancy sensing and motion detection, so it can light up your way. It's got a ton of sensors that are built into it. But it also communicates with the thermostats to help them know when someone's in the home, and make sure that you're not turning on or off the heating or cooling when there's no occupancy. Carbon monoxide, so the ability to make sure that you're safe with any type of fossil fuel burning that's happening in the home, whether or not that's your heating system, your hot water, etc. And then real voice communication. So, it isn't a chirp, and ours will never chirp, right? So that thing that happens at 3 o'clock in the morning never happens with a Nest. You will know exactly what room, if there is a battery that is going low, they come in battery or they come in hardwired with battery backup. But it's real voice communication. So if there is smoke detected somewhere, it tells you exactly where, and it communicates it all the way throughout the entire house as well as to your app. So if you're not home, it's got great integrations with the thermostat. So if it does sense a problem in the house, it shuts down the HVAC system. There's no need to fuel that. It can turn on the cameras if they aren't on already, so that you can see what's happening in or outside your home. So just an amazing amount of technology packed into a really small device, and customers love it. I think the fact that it's just so simple, so clean, and tells you exactly what's going on through voice, intercommunicated with great integrations, great product.
Yeah, even on their own, the products are helpful. Put them together, it just amplifies this helpful factor with the products, and that's the phrase that's front and center of a lot of the Google Nest marketing, is the helpful home. And as you build up your smart home with products inside and outside the property, some for entertainment, some for connectivity, some for security, and some for life safety, it's each one you adds to the helpfulness. And there's more than just the protect and the smoke detector. The protect and the thermostat. There's now this whole suite of products from the Google Nest family. We're going to highlight a few of them. So we're going to look at the doorbell, the cameras, and also one of the displays you've got, the Nest Hub Max. So introduce us to the Nest Hello doorbell.
Yeah. Who would have known that the acquisition of Dropcam would be so valuable as much as it has been. The camera business has just been just a huge spot for us in the portfolio. You're talking about Helpful Home. Helpful Home does get better together, right? As the more products that you're putting in there, the more cool stuff it can do. But the Nest Hello, such a simple product, the ability to see who's at your door I travel a lot for work, and the ability to see who's at the door when I'm not home, or the ability for my family to see who's at the door on the Home Hub Max, as an example, before they walk to the front door. It's just a huge piece of security. But that camera has all the intelligence built into it that you see in our other cameras, from facial recognition, so stranger detection, to now we've downloaded software and done an upgrade on all of the Nest Hellos, where we can tell if you've got a package or not.
That's a great feature.
And during COVID, you can imagine, how much of that is being utilized by people.
One of my customers said they've interact more with their doorbell since they've been working from home. They're on their Zoom calls, they're on their Google meetings, their Teams, and they are constantly seeing who came in, who went out, what kid, has anybody gone out of the home, has that package arrived. They say they're using it far more actually being in the home.
And there's a feature of a do not disturb, right? So if you're working from home, or you have newborns or kids taking naps, and you don't want that, you can easily set it up so that it doesn't ring anything on the inside, but it is putting a message out to whoever's out there. So there's really cool features like that as well. And then some of the neat stuff we do during the holidays, Halloween here in the States, we set up so that you got a Halloween tone. Christmas, there was holiday sounds, and it's little things like that make some of the technology pretty cool. But I think the doorbell business never in my life did I think I would say the words that the doorbell business is hot. But it is. It's a very hot business.
And this is the theme with Google and Google Nest is they're taking the traditional dumb products that are prolific in a home, multiple thermostats, smoke detectors, traditional CCTV being very clunky, hard to operate, often unused, home security alarm systems, maybe never used, in a lot of cases. And it's like a smart refresh. And I really like the practical side of Google Nest. And that's why we're big fans of it, because it takes dumb and replaces it with smart every time.
Yeah, and we did a couple, things in that product that were a little bit different. The ratio of the way that we show the camera enables you to see down to the floor. So you'll see a lot of cameras where they're talking about how wide of an angle. That's good, but it doesn't enable you to see the package on the ground. So the ratio that we set up the camera for most, it allows you to see that package that's down on the ground. And then we really put some high quality sound in it. Compared to a lot of the other products out there. And that if you're going to talk to someone, you need to be able to hear well and you need to be able to speak well. So good design, some little details of how we set up the camera for its specific mode of operation, and some cool software so that there's no need to be alerted if the person who lives at the house, that the camera knows. So it lets me know my daughter, Caitlin, is at the door. I don't need to do anything versus if I get an alert that says unfamiliar face is at the door, well, I may want to take a closer look.
Yeah, and the security on the outside is that's your first line of home protection, but also Google Nest have this great range of indoor cameras as well. And the flagship indoor cameras is the IQ cam, the indoor one, with so many features. People are like, oh, it's just an indoor camera. It's quite heavy on price, Chris. And I just roll out the feature list. They're like, but what? It has so much inside it.
Yeah, everything from the Google Assistant, again, a great speaker, great microphone, some really great infrared, up to 4K resolution if you want it. You can set it back if you don't want to utilize all that bandwidth. Familiar face alerts, and you can get all that actually in the outdoor IQ as well. And so both of those cameras, you're right, they are a little bit more expensive than some of the other cameras that we have. But from the standpoint of what you get, depending upon what you're going to use the camera for, it's a great product. And the fact that Google Assistant was put into it, we've gotten some really good reviews on that as well. It's just become super handy for people.
With this collection of different smart devices, you have your thermostat for your climate control, you have your Nest Protect for your carbon monoxide sensor, you have your cameras on the exterior of your home, whether it's for your doorbell or something that you're mounting up in the eave inside or outside. The need for an interface to bring it all together was something else that Google focused on with the Hub Max. Can you tell us a little bit about that Hub Max?
Yeah, so the Google Hub Max, and you'll continue to see that from us, where if you look right now, we've got the largest portfolio under one app than any other manufacturer out there in call it the smart home category. And Home Hub Max, there was Home Hub and Home Hub Max. And Home Hub Max took everything that was really cool about Home Hub and then just made it even more helpful. So some examples of being a little bit more helpful. My mother-in-law, she only lives, less than 5 miles away. She's 86. She's got one. And the fact that we can call and see that she's doing really well and just carry on a normal conversation. So that camera that was built in there now allowing duo calling live, and you can walk around. Ours is in our kitchen. You can walk around the kitchen and that camera follows you so that you can carry on that conversation without being out of view. That camera also, you can set it up so that it can be an added Nest security camera for you. So if you want that camera to run all the time or just when you're away, and have that as another additional feed to what's going on in the home, you've got that capability. And then whether or not you've got a TV streaming service, I, not shockingly, use YouTube TV. But there's Sling on there, there's Hulu on there, but you can enable that so that you can watch your news. If I don't know, chopping an onion or doing some stuff in the kitchen, I love to have the TV on in the background, and sometimes the kids are watching something else, and I only need that right in the kitchen just to keep up to speed with what's happening. So Home Hub Max, great sound quality, nice bass tones that come out of that setup, and with that camera, just a lot more ability. The coolest thing about that, though, is it actually, in a way, can be your control center. So you can control everything that's a Google Nest product, as well as you can access a whole bunch of stuff that's third party. So I can raise and lower my blinds. I can turn on and turn off lights. I can set what I want the lights to be at, if they're dimmables. So it's really, I think, the piece of enabling all of our first party products to be controlled really well. But if you're somebody out there that has all these other third party products, but you want to be able to control it in one space, you can do it through the Home Hub Max, and you can also do it through the Google Home app. So some really cool stuff where all of a sudden you don't need to have 9 different apps to operate a bunch of stuff in your home.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of our Nest Hub Max in our kitchen. That swipe down brings up my familiar icons for thermostat, security, lighting, and I just tap into the service I need and do my business, whether it's to change a brightness, change a color, or view a camera or adjust the climate. It's super convenient, and I'm a big fan of tech that takes you sometimes away from your smartphone or tablet, but gives you that touch screen, which is the familiar way to interact. Because sometimes you don't want to use your voice assistant if it's kids.
Yeah.
And some people just like to swipe down. But when your hands are full, you've got that voice assistant ready and waiting for your command. And it's not just singular commands. The one thing that my customers enjoy about using the Google Assistant for their smart home is they can string out multiple commands, turn this
Sure.
off, dim that, close that, and play this. Or set up very easy to set up scenes where it's, if I say this phrase, do all these commands, and it's really easy. You literally type what you want to happen, save it, and then you can recall that scene from any of your assistants.
I think you're going to see where routines continue to just grow in the business, and I think that's where pros will continue to be incredibly helpful for homeowners. Homeowners want, they want to enjoy the tech, but sometimes they just don't want to do the setup or do the research to figure out how to do it. And so pros like yourselves, it just enable that to happen, and all they need to do is know the phrase at that point, and they get to enjoy all the benefits of it.
Yeah, a big part of what we do in our business is not just the installation, it's spending the time after, the education, and the knowledge transfer, and that's where the benefit of the pro comes in and pays for itself. I genuinely believe that's where they see the value. Okay, they did it, they screwed this hole, they made a mess, they tidied up, they're a diligent tradesperson, but then they added all this value at the end where they genuinely educated me about controlling my home and managing it.
Yeah, I think that the most valuable piece for the trade is what I call the kitchen table conversation, where somebody may just be interested. They thought they were just interested in the doorbell, but they found out that the doorbell, if they have a Chromecast, can show up on their TV. Yeah. And with Home Hub Max, if they're in the kitchen, it's automatically going to show, or they can look at any camera. That makes a ton of sense. And then, there's a door lock that goes with it. those are the things where people, they tend to pick a product first as a general consumer. But the helpful home, where you can get multiple products that start to build off of each other, and you just create some incredible integrations and routines, or just helpfulness in the house. That's where I think pros are the most valuable, and that continues to be true. And I think that's where the business will go long term.
For the last about 18 months, I haven't allowed any of our technicians to go out and do a Nest Hello doorbell without also taking with them either a Nest Hub or a Nest Hub Max or another indoor camera, because I know the conversation just
natural.
Yeah, it just blends into, and what else can I do, and how else can I view it? Chromecast, another one, just to keep in the truck. £24, £25 product. Now, one of the things that actually was a little bit of a sticky point with customers sometimes was the cost. The Nest Aware subscription, multiple cameras, doorbells, and they would bring it up. Oh, this is quite expensive, Chris. And there's ways to get around that conversation and get them to, because I see the huge benefit in having Nest Aware. But then, since we've set up this call and we're recording now, there's been a huge change. Nest Aware has just two prices by the looks of it. Tell us what's happened recently with Nest Aware.
Yeah, so we went from a per camera charge, where you would have a monthly charge for your first camera, and then each additional camera was half price. And as soon as you got into 3 or 4 cameras, people were saying, geez, it's I love the service. I love the ability to go through Time Machine and see anything that's happening, and there's a ton of benefits. But so we've gone from that to an account setup. So basically, I've got 2 outdoor cameras, 1 indoor camera, another camera on my Home Hub Max, and my doorbell. And so now all of that, I can choose whether or not I want to have all that history on an event basis. So that means that when it sees something, because there's AI, artificial intelligence, that is going up to the cloud, where we recognize when something is happening, and we will record that for you, to 24/7 streaming. So you can go from the $6 a month for one structure. You have your one house, and you have as many cameras as you need in that house, and you have the events. Or for $12 a month, you can have 24/7. And so obviously, the more cameras you have, the better deal it is. But that was a significant change. That was in the works for a long time. It actually, candidly, got delayed a little bit here and there, because we kept on making the software better and better and better. And that is a staple within our business, of being able to continually make our products better. But that change made a lot of people happy, for sure.
Yeah, I signed up for it immediately. In our office, we've got 5 cameras plus the doorbell. Okay, we're showing off the product, but it's helping my wallet at this time.
Friends, we got Gene with Google Nest joining us today. Gene, that's a lot of innovation. And, that's great to hear that, the Nest Aware is making some adjustments and building a payment option that's a lot more embracing for a broader audience. Are there other products that are coming online or being revamped? Anything that you might be able to, give us some early unveil to our audience, to our listeners, that Google might be, bringing into the fold?
Yeah, so we're always innovating. Unfortunately, I can't share a lot about it, but what I would tell you is that there'll be new products from us in 2020, and COVID has made some things challenging on the side of new product delivery as well. But yeah, we'll continue to innovate. And for your pros that are listening, we've got some stuff in the works for their side of the business too, that we're continuing to work on, and things I can't unveil, but you'll see some new stuff from us in 2020, and we've got some really good plans for helping integrators, and doesn't matter what trade you're in, help to grow their business as well. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, I genuinely think that when I speak to new starts in our industry, or people diversifying from a traditional security or electrical, or coming from IT, and they're asking, they're asking me, should I dive into the big integration platforms and the
Sure.
custom integration? And I'm like, no, here's the first step. Sign up, do the Nest Pro online training, get yourself a thermostat, get yourself a Protect, get yourself a camera, a doorbell, and start with those products as some of the early offerings to customers as you bring some diversification into your business.
Yeah, and the nice part is that you become a Nest Pro, you get personal use. They can try the products out themselves, and once I think you have it, that's where it's really easy to become an ambassador, because it just becomes you get a passion around telling somebody how cool something is, or how well it functions in the house. So that is an important piece, for sure. Personal use is the most valuable part of my business.
So closing then on personal use, there's a question we ask every guest we have on the show, and we'd like you to not choose Nest or Google Nest for this answer.
Sure.
We want to know, what's the one home tech product that you can't live without at home?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. And with it being outside of Google Nest, I can tell you for my wife, it's going to be the iRobot Roomba. We run that thing to death, for sure. We have a English bull here in the house, and she's not big, but man, she leaves a trail everywhere she goes. So we love that iRobot Roomba. It's one of the best creations out there, which, by the way, I still can control from my Google Home Hub.
There you go.
That's great. Gamble, finally we got something that's a little bit out of the normal.
Yeah.
From the answers that we've gotten. And you know what? That is a great choice. I think we have actually talked about that iRobot Roomba before in one of our smart home under $3,000. What can you get? And I think that was one of the options.
Yeah.
It's a great device. I'm a fan. I didn't think I was gonna be, and we got it, and I have to admit it was a good one.
Oh man,
Right.
Ben, if you're looking to make your wives happy, maybe that's something else that you should add to your choices outside of some of these Google Nest products that we discussed on the show today.
Yeah, and
Gene,
I think I think the other one for your viewers, like, that made a big impact, was the motorized blinds, motorized shades. Just so darn convenient. Again, where we were watching a movie yesterday and just asked Google to lower the blinds, and it was a great way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, Gene. It's been an absolute joy to pick your brain, to hear your experience that you've had there at Google before acquisition, at Google Nest after acquisition, some of the benefits that Google Nest is bringing into residents and businesses across the country, for sure, and around the world, and how it's had a positive impact. And for you to take some time to share with the digital ramblers that tune in, thank you so much. And
yeah, guys, I'm happy to be here, and love the chance to share some of those stories with you and give you a little bit of insight.
So we're going to change our closing sentence, because we normally have it pretty set in stone. But this week, if you don't know, find a Nest Pro.
I love it. Okay.
Don't forget, I don't want to do 30-minute interview and forget to hit record. So that's on now. And like I say, any issues, just hold your hands up and we'll start again. JJ is going to intro us in. JJ, I did the last one for Hero, so you're going to do episode 81. Just confirm your surname, how you pronounce it, Gene, how you like it pronounced.
Lanoy.
Lanoy. Okay.
All right.
The folks in France wouldn't like me right now.
Lenoy.
You can get fancy and say Lenoir if you want.
Lenoir. All right, here we go. Counting down for 5, 4, 3.
I think I've got a box here. So it's a big part of my business and JJ's business as well.
I see it.
That's awesome. JJ, do you want to take us out?